Stewart-Haas Racing 3 days before Daytona. It's really cool to see how much science and engineering goes into everything these guys build.
NASCAR has so many rules. How much the car has to weigh, how much of that weight goes front to rear, how much of it is side to side, the height of the car, and then we have to make the car competitive.
Good morning, folks. I am here at Stewart-Haas Racing just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina with Todd.
Yeah.
And what's your role?
A mini role.
A mini role?
Yeah, but on the operations side, purchasing side.
We were down here filming some factory tours and I reached out and I said, hey, I'd love to see more. I don't really know that much about NASCAR, and it's actually pretty darn impressive what they do from chassis work to frame hanging to what do you call it, body hanging?
Yeah, body hanging. Yeah.
To all the machined parts that go into
yes, sir.
running these teams.
Yeah, build suspension components from raw billet chunks to putting the bodies on our cars.
Seriously, the amount of technology that goes into these, it's absolutely amazing. This should be awesome. You want to show us around?
Yeah, come on in, take a tour.
We're here at this is the showroom that anybody can come into?
Normal Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. We have a gift shop, we have some trophies on display, we have show cars. Car that won the 2017 Daytona 500 is sitting here in the lobby as well.
They were literally saying they did everything they could to keep this car absolutely as it was when, who was the driver?
Kurt Busch.
Kurt Busch, yeah. Yep. Even including the grass that he dug up and doing his donuts after he won the race.
Yep. Yeah, all the confetti, the Busch beer stained, stuck on confetti.
And we're filming this like 3 days before Daytona, so we really appreciate them making the time to let us come sneak in and get a little tour behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All the Daytona stuff's got to be down there already,
yeah,
though, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, sir.
Got it. So the stuff that we're going to see is working on...
you got Vegas, Fontana, and Phoenix.
Okay.
3 West Coast races all being prepped up right now, ready to go. So it's a logistical juggle to make it those 3 races as well. We don't bring any of the primary haulers back between the races.
Got it.
So we'll go a little bit in depth on how we handle that as well for you guys.
Oh,
Championship
cool.
Trophies.
Yeah.
The gold car that Goodyear Tires gives the championship winning team. It is a solid gold plated car.
Wow.
100% scale. So what you see here is a main assembly shop.
Okay.
This half of the shop is actually a car setup. The cars are being prepped for which racetrack they're going to, which means alignment, weight, tread width, wheelbase, ride heights, etc. They're on a surface plate, which is drilled and anchored into the ground to make it as flat as we possibly can.
They're on surface plates?
Yeah, 1 3/4 piece of steel.
No kidding.
Each one of the surface plates have an individual fingerprint. It's a system called gridlock, and it has random divots that are machined into the plate, and then some pucks that are put into the ground. We use roller arms to measure. Instead of having framing squares and plumb bobs and string like we used to have 6-8 years ago. That technology is.
Oh yeah, you can see the arms right there.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yeah. So we have you got 1, 2, 3 sitting there.
Another one sitting there.
There'll be another one sitting over here. So these guys are a little bit different part of the process. But NASCAR has so many rules. How much the car has to weigh, how much of that weight goes front to rear, how much of it is side to side, the height of the car, and then we have to make the car competitive. So the guys here are doing those jobs, making sure that NASCAR is happy, make sure our crew chiefs and engineers are happy. So when the car is completely done, this is engine, transmission, car's run, it's got fuel in it, it is about 100% ready to go. Some of these cars are minus wrap on them.
Okay.
But that's another step of the story on why they're done in this sequence, I guess is the right way to put it. But the cars are as close as they're going to get to rolling on the racetrack. Yeah. And they're doing final scale on that car. So you're dealing with the Vegas or Fontana cars right now.
This is amazing though. I mean, to think that you've got almost a metrology surface of this like accurate base surface that you can then basically you're picking heights off of, or you're letting it serve as a ground plane to pick on your suspension point, your ride heights, the body, all that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so with that gridlock system, we go ahead and take the roller arm, touch 3 of the divots in the ground.
Yeah.
It'll know what plate it's on because we have multiple plates that have this system. And then there's certain pickup points that are on every chassis.
Yeah.
So we go ahead and touch a few of those spots on the chassis, and then we know what plate we're on, we know what car we're on, we punch into the database, it'll pick up the file that's for that chassis, and we'll know where the car is in relationship to center line on the plate, and we could start connecting the dots.
It's amazing.
So instead
that's
of
pulling
actually
back
having to square the car up on the surface plate, we're able to go ahead and kind of do it in its own
doesn't
plane.
matter where you drop the car because
Correct.
it picks
and
it all
what
up.
plane it is.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Yeah,
sure.
You're not spending a bunch of time like we used to 6-8 years ago worrying about squaring the car up on the plates before you started the process. We work in the thousandths, so it's just the way it goes.
The points, what are these?
So they're
pads here?
for the scales. So you have the scales that sit right there. So they're making sure that the scales kind of sit in the same spot. So
That's a weigh scale?
So it's a weight scale, and we call a roll off. So when the car is being changed, a setting on the car, we'll roll the car back off.
Okay.
Have it on this solid surface. You can make a change, move the car around to kind of settle the car, roll it back on scales.
Got it.
And the scales are wireless. They'll pop up on the computer screen.
So cool.
You have, I don't know if anybody's on bars, so you can kind of come on over here. So you can see the bars with the flashing light. They have lasers that point up to the frame rail that give you the ride height as well. So not only do you have your corner weights, but you also have the ride height. So when you make changes on our cars, ride height is so critical. Car's aerodynamics is king. You got horsepower and aerodynamics in a driver, the three main components of speed, really. So as they make changes to the car, they want to maintain their ride height.
Why put a sign up saying that the measurement's in process?
Because there's a lot of different steps that happen at all times that have to coordinate to have everybody, all 350 people that kind of put their fingerprint on these cars to know what the process is that's going on at critical stages. Sometimes you need some pretty rudimentary flag. It's kind of a remove this before flight flag on a portion of an airplane, right?
Right.
Very similar step. So if anybody knows anything about roller arms, they know they're not necessarily cheap.
Yeah.
So just kind of keep an eye out on how many we have as we can kind of put it in perspective.
Is this unique to the Stewart-Haas team, or is this new to NASCAR?
It's industry standard kind of. When you build a brand new chassis, the chassis has to go through an inspection process at NASCAR. They'll use a roller arm to do that.
Okay.
They'll use a lot of the same systems. So we are on their system, on those systems because more of NASCAR. We have to apples to apples. If we went to a different version of measuring, we'd be on our own island and hope to mesh what NASCAR is doing. So and then this thing is just sped up the process.
But this is all carbon fiber?
That's all carbon,
It's incredible.
Ford provides us with that.
Okay.
It looks like all one piece right now. We'll show you how separate all the pieces are as we get through the shop.
This is wireless. That's really slick. That's really cool.
And then these plates here will mount onto the hub face. You'll take the wheel off the car. This is strong enough to hold all the weight.
Okay.
We'll be on these solid boxes at that time. You'll use the roller arm to touch those divots, and you'll have
reference
toe,
planes. That's awesome.
camber.
Okay.
Exactly. Tread width, wheelbase.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Tombstones, we call them.
Not my kind of tombstone.
Yeah. And then these are QC plates. There's a 7.5 foot deep pit. It has a hydroelectric setup that will run scales and push and travel the suspension up and down. And it is run by a computer, and we know within reason how much a car is going to travel at max compression in the middle of the turn, and what the spring rate should be, how much weight the car should be weighing on each corner, at what ride height, and this kind of quality controls that. And they've actually set that car up on it. The chassis gets hard mounted onto the plates.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
We're using steel rods.
Yeah. Again, dumb question, but when a car is moving 200 miles an hour, it gets pushed into. So you
got G-force and you got aerodynamic load.
Okay.
So it's a combination of the two that are forcing the car into the ground. So you're going down the straightaway, you don't have many G's pushing the car into the track, but you have aerodynamic load. And then once that car makes the turn into the banking of the racetrack, then that's when the actual G-force will overcome what aero demand is. They're running through different checks, so he's in a setup mode right now. But yeah, he'll be able to travel that car, 3, 4, 5 inches, whatever he wants to go ahead and travel.
That's cool.
So he could bump up corners, he could go ahead and check it. you know, sway bar arm angles. You can check to see, make sure the spring is doing what the spring is wanting to do. Make sure the shock travel is correct. There's a lot that goes on to maintain our ride height and make sure that the contact patch of the tire is consistent. So a lot goes on to make sure the car's going to do what we expect it to do when it first hits the track. Because once you start racing or practicing, they'll make changes to the car to go ahead and help stuff. But this is really for those first few laps on the track.
Get you close.
Yeah, you gain driver confidence.
Yeah. And so you're doing this for different, you know, I mean, there's how many NASCAR tracks do you guys race in a season?
Yeah, we already know.
20 or
We know
30?
this. Yeah, we already know what the season is. What our next race is. It's, you know.
But you've got different setups for every
race
track. Every
Yeah,
track. That's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, you have different aerodynamic builds. You have different chassis builds. You have different suspension component builds. Yeah, it's not like we take one car and just manipulate the suspension settings to go to that. The cars are built for every racetrack.
You were saying right before we hit record that there's 16.
Yeah, 5 chassis designs, but 16 total cars to run
per driver.
One team. Yeah.
And you guys have 4 teams. You have 64.
64 race cars. And then we have show cars that we saw.
Right.
We have R&D cars.
Right. That's incredible.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit going on.
Where are we now?
So we're in body hanging. It has a kind of a unique nickname almost to it. It's like hanging a shirt on a coat hanger. Start from the roof and work your way down.
Okay.
Is how the process is. So you know, I don't really know the history of it. As long as I've been in this sport, it's always been called body hanging.
Okay. But you really do start from the roof, and then you're attaching parts to the chassis.
Yep, as you go. Yeah, so you locate that roof onto the chassis.
Okay.
In a similar process now that we use setting the cars up, we use that same process. Surface plate, chassis is romered on, but this gets a little bit more critical. We actually bolt the chassis solid to the surface plates. We have NASCAR's rules, the frame rails from the ground to the bottom of the frame rail in the front have to be 6 inches off the ground, and the rear of the frame rail is 8 inches off the ground. You have a center line for the chassis. Chassis gets bolted on to the plate, and then everything is run. Those measurements, when we hang the body, when you go through NASCAR Tech, all the body measurements are done at that chassis being 6 and 8. So you go to the racetrack, you go through inspection at the racetrack, everything is done off that 6 and 8 number.
That's cool.
And that helps them orient all their measuring equipment at the track, at the NASCAR Tech Center, and what we do here.
The NASCAR Tech Center is to double check that you guys are following the rules, or is it just for setup at the race?
That's triple check.
Okay.
Once you get to the Tech Center, so first step, once the car is built, first step is when you're at the racetrack, or here, I guess, it would be here. Second step, when you're at the racetrack, before you go to practice and before you qualify and before you race, you go through a bunch of different checks, make sure that you're maintaining tolerance on your cars. And then if you win the race, finish second or a random, they'll take 3 cars every week to the Tech Center and do a more in-depth inspection, I guess.
But so if you win a race, there's a roamer arm at the track that's
There's
going
one
to check
at the Tech Center, just up the street. So all the race teams, it doesn't make any difference where you are in the country, where your race team is. If you win a race, and if you had a team out of Denver, Colorado, like we had, there was a team a few years ago that was there. They would have to.
Ours comes back here.
Always come back here, and you have to come pick it back up.
It's funny.
Yeah. So luckily we're close to them.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, you have that. We have 6 groups of 3 that put bodies on these cars.
Okay.
So you're doing potentially 6 cars at a time, and depending on the build of the car, so the level of detail or the type of measurement process that goes on the car. Some panels take a little bit longer to produce when you are building a car, say from Martinsville or to Talladega, Daytona, Talladega. You have a lot of stiffeners in it to help maintain the shape of the body, where Martinsville, you're not going to worry about that stuff. You're not going those speeds that they're going to collapse the body.
Martinsville is a tiny, but still an oval, right?
Yeah, still an oval.
Okay.
The same rules as well.
Yeah, okay.
It's just, there's an XYZ number on every
part. It's amazing.
Every external piece that you could touch.
Yeah.
So NASCAR will then have a few areas that you don't have a tolerance on, but there's a 150 thou circle. So it's us manipulating those 150 thou numbers that make a car good for Martinsville versus making a car good for Talladega, or we're going to go to Montana and Vegas. All these different tracks will all have their unique thumbprint, so to speak, on it, once again.
So you're starting off a solid model on the cab side for all these as well.
Yep.
The tubing, the framework, the fabrication is beautiful.
Yeah.
Seeing that under the hood here.
It's all ground tubing. You know, NASCAR, same thing. They have their rules. They say, okay, this piece of material is a 2x3 and it's 095 wall. Well, for you to go ahead and buy 2x3 095 DOM or whatever you've got, round tube, inch and a quarter, inch and 3/4, that's perfectly 095 wall, it's impossible. We then have it surface ground.
Really?
To go ahead and maintain the minimum thickness.
Yeah.
Because we're conscious of weight.
Right.
The tubing is going to be more than strong enough for its application. It's overkill.
Yeah.
So then the side of stuff that we go ahead and do is for the weight of the car. So we got the 6th group. Here you're about average on 7 days to go ahead and put a body on a car, complete car. So you're doing every 7 odd days, you're kicking out 6 cars. And
so going from, so the chassis is already done. You're literally 7 days to
hang the body.
Hang the body.
Yes, sir.
It's incredible though.
Yep. You see the more tombstones up on the corners there, so those will give you some hard points that will have real fine measurements to be able to.
You're talking about the verticals?
Yeah,
that, right where
yeah. So as the car gets built and you get fenders on it, and those are critical points in the NASCAR measurement file.
Yeah, look at that right there, giving them reference points and datums. It's incredible. I've seen them use that, just picking up that roamer arm.
Yeah, so you got 2 roamer arms per plate. So you get the sides that NASCAR or Ford will give us. So that's a side of a car.
Oh, that's literally a side panel,
yeah,
huh?
Side panel.
Interesting.
Yeah. You got a little bit of prep work in it. We were talking about the differences in the cars. You got a little bit of bracing.
Oh, interesting.
To kind of keep it from waffling in and out. Or you got these complete panels that will get epoxied on
That's
there.
carbon fiber, and that's
carbon fiber.
That's a seal, or
yeah, okay. and then you'll mate the two, and it'll be quite a bit stiffer.
Sure.
So that's the difference in having a car that's prepped for different types of tracks. So once the body is on the car and the car's shell is complete, it'll come in here. This is finish fab.
Okay.
And this room will go ahead and do all the windows, all the window bracing, the ductwork, the crush panels. They'll finish the shell of the car.
Okay.
To where it can virtually be bolted together and raced. We then strip the car down. We paint the car.
Okay.
And that is painting the chassis, getting the interior painted, getting our chassis gray on. The car will come back in here, and it'll go from a car that is composite nose and hood, and then all the steel panels, to a car that is smooth.
Okay.
It looks like it's all one unit. And then they'll go ahead and reassemble all those parts on the car. So you can see the crush panel. So you go to this car, and you can see the bare frame. You'll see right through it. But the gap between the chassis and the body is open, so you have to close all of that off, the wheel wells, etc.
Yep.
And put the windows and those parts in it. Once that shell is done, we'll do a ATOS scan of the car. So
a what scan?
ATOS is the
software?
Yeah, is the trade name.
Okay.
Is to the scanner. So it'll do a high definition photo of the car.
Okay. Yeah,
within the thousands. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
to
building
see
a
what they're
cloud.
doing.
It's building a cloud point model of the whole chassis.
Yep.
And that's doing a comparison of that. Sorry, body.
Yeah. And then you're able to go ahead and then overlap cars. So you could take NASCAR's file, what they call their gold surface, and you could overlay our car on top of it. And then you'll know,
you get like a topology map.
I'm in tolerance, or not, and then let's make sure we're in tolerance. And then as we build cars and we take cars to the wind tunnel and we start figuring out what it takes to be competitive with our cars, we're able to go ahead and learn those trends, and then you can take our best cars that we feel are our best cars and overlay cars on top of it and make sure the trends and you're not, you're trying to quality control everything.
So if at this point though, the body's been painted, it looks like it's pretty well along its way. If you want to move a surface by 20 or 30 thou, what do you do?
Move it.
How do you move it?
Cut it up.
Serious?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh really? No hesitation, just go back?
So we were talking about the cars out there and saying the wrap not being on cars that are virtually done.
Got it.
We're in the wind tunnel every week. We're at the racetrack every week. You are constantly learning.
Yeah.
So a car that you build right now doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go ahead and roll out the door like that, because we might have learned something and it does not make any difference.
Wow.
We know when the truck has to load and go to the racetrack.
Got it. You'll do anything before that?
Anything before that.
So your hesitation to take a saw to that is nothing?
Nothing. Yeah, so you got...
It's almost demoralizing.
Yeah, not the easiest business to be in when it comes down to if you're worried about going backwards on what you just finished.
Yeah.
It's like being in the CNC world and spending hours and hours making part X, Y, and Z, and the customer says, well, okay, now knock this. You as a business operator who's getting that outsourced job, you're not going to say no to that extra work and money. It's the same thing.
Wow. Do you know what the magnets or pins are there?
Yeah, so the clecos are there because we don't have the ductwork in the car at this point. So those are just plates, so they have a constant surface.
I see, got it.
So when they're working on the surface, they have something consistent. Same thing with the windows in it. And it won't take a good picture if it's got a shiny surface, so they put like a talcum spray on it, so it's just a powder.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, look at that.
So then once the car is done in here, the car goes into the assembly shop.
Where we started this morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, the car comes into the race teams. All the other rooms that we've been going through, body hanging, finish fab, the machine shop, everything's first in, first out. There's no 4-car or 10-car or 14-car or 41-car body hanger. Same process in finish fab, all throughout the support rooms or the build rooms. It's once you get into this room, as these guys are actually employed by the crew chief of the car. So they'll have a shop crew, a road crew, a pit crew, their engineering group. Once again, we keep on talking about that thumbprint, but it's kind of a common theme. They put their 4-car version of everything on it, where what Kevin wants versus what Eric wants versus Clint or Cole, what they want as far as driver comfort and all their stuff, what their engineers are wanting, how they want their cars assembled. The cars are built for the teams from minute one of, okay, hey, I need a chassis, I wrecked a car, I have a car that's mileaged out. So from that first minute of that car being put together, it's their car. It's just the groups that are building it. It's not as an individual or an individual team. So that room they go into body hang, you have all those surface plates. There's not one that is specific to, like, say, the 14 car.
Got it. And what is that photo?
So that is also part of the inspection process. So NASCAR has, they call it the Hawkeye, and it has a high definition cameras, similar technology that they use in like professional tennis. You watch TV, you watch a tennis ball go at a, so they have the camera system. So it takes a picture of the car, gives you all of the measurements to coordinate with what NASCAR has, and it will then give you a picture of your car within all those tolerances. And are you good or are you bad? You have green or are you red? You're going through the Hawkeye to make NASCAR happy. So NASCAR had this process. We bought the exact same machine that they have, so we could go ahead and make sure our cars roll out and we keep everybody happy. So
you have Romer arms, you've got the non-contact, the A-word acronym,
ATOS,
and then you've got this. So there's the third measurement system already. It's amazing.
So when the car goes from body hanging, then into finish fab, it comes into paint before it gets fed back into finish fab. So the guys will come on in here and prep cars to paint them. You'll put them on the rotisserie. We'll tape off whatever we don't want painted, and we'll clean the cars. The cars get acid washed so they can go straight to paint. But once again, similar to building the cars and the ground material and everything like that, you don't want to put paint on things that don't need paint because you don't want to tote the weight around.
Because the weight, really.
100%.
Yeah.
So you can see everything that we do to make sure that the car isn't getting painted.
Yeah. How much, do you know what the before and after weight is for paint?
7 to 8 pounds-ish.
Yeah, but you care about 7 pounds.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we care about a quarter pound.
Wow.
We're worried about the ounces in this room.
Wow,
So
look at that.
So everything that we don't need painted because you're going to have something that bolts on. You'll have NASCAR's inspection tags. These are RFID tags that NASCAR, like I said, when you build a brand new chassis, the chassis goes to NASCAR, it gets inspected. They put a bunch of either bar scan tags or RFID tags on it. So we were talking about how the car gets center lined up using that roller arm.
Yeah.
So you'll have either these little holes.
Those are actually been laser cut, yeah.
Yeah, that's a laser cut. Or they'll have a receiver, so when the car gets bolted onto the surface plate, it'll have the male receiver for that. And then you'll have another bung in the front sway bar tube that are all on center. So it's also an easy QC process. So when we race this car, after you race it, you can go ahead and strip the car down, put it back on the surface plate, make sure nothing's askew. And
how do you make the decision to try to repair a car that was in an accident versus
history, I guess, what works and what doesn't?
Okay.
And that guides you.
Yeah.
We've been doing this long enough that you could go ahead and look down in a car nowadays. Like the cars that just came back from the Clash, and cars roll off the trailer, and we could go literally open the hood up or look inside some of the things and say, all right, this thing's a write-off, and tell the teardown guys how far to go. And either you're going to cut it up into sections like this, or you're going to cut this much off of it and bring it to this room. Yeah.
But it wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, it sounds like, given for what you guys do, it wouldn't be a big deal to just cut off the front end if that was the only damage and just rebuild the front end.
Yeah. They all have plates in them to section the car out.
Okay.
So if you're going to rear clip the car, you'll cut it off here at these rear plates. You're going to front clip the car, and you'll do the same thing to those plates right there. So yeah, you'll just chop it off, and it comes on and off. It's
no big deal.
Yeah, it's like going to.
You sound like you know what you do.
Yeah, you're gonna go to.
Get this guy a wrench.
It's like going to Jimmy John's and ordering yourself a sandwich with lettuce or without lettuce.
I'm just proud that I can change my own brake rotors these days, and this is a whole nother level.
So since this room's not conducive to the roller arms.
Okay.
Right. So we will have hand templates.
Oh, wow.
All those critical areas. So the roller arm or the ATO scanner is so high definition that you'll be able to cut a 16th sliver through the whole car. Okay, I want this section to have a hand template. So you've got all the XYZ coordinates on them where they.
That's awesome. Yeah, like a go no go gauge. It's the profile though.
Yeah. You'll have pictures of where they all go.
Yeah.
To manipulate all the seams and smooth everything out, and to make sure that the Hawkeye is right, and all of that all gets done in body filler. So you got 3 prep stations, 4 paint booths, all downdraft heated paint booths, and these guys will put some hours in.
Yeah. The 3 races that you said you had come up on the West Coast, will each track get a different chassis?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah. Vegas and Fontana will share a backup car as long as it's not used.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll have a primary car for each one of the tracks, and then Phoenix has a unique backup compared to Vegas and Phoenix. So in this room here, it's a unit build. You have radiators, oil coolers that we go ahead and maintain here. We'll do all our cleaning, sonic cleaning here. All the radiators are spec radiator, NASCAR spec. Got nothing much to them other than just maintenance. We mileage them out, 3,500 miles. Very high quality piece. CNR Racing out of Indiana makes them for us. Fuel cells, same thing. Do all the prep and maintenance.
That's all the bigger a fuel tank is?
Yep. They got 3 fuel pumps in it. We're fuel injected now, so it's an electric fuel pump. And then over here we got engine dress and drive line. We have no engines here getting prepped, but we usually get an engine from Roush Yates about 7 days before an event. We'll put the headers on, hang the transmissions on. We've also maintained all of our third members here, so all the different gear ratios that it takes to run a season.
These are all different gearings for different
size tracks. Yeah. So NASCAR will have a primary and a secondary gear. ratio that they determine well before, so we can get the parts and pieces built up. We have headers that have the shielding on it, the insulation on it.
Why would you have different headers for different?
Yeah,
What header would matter?
Well, the chassis design is different.
Okay.
So the flow of the pipe to be able to go ahead and maximize the space in the chassis.
Got it.
And then also we have super speedway racing, so that's one engine package. Then you have a 550 horsepower engine package and a 750 horsepower package. So they'll take different headers as well.
Okay.
So short tracks, Phoenix will be a 750 race, Fontana will be a 550 race. And so header package will be different, no different than the gears, no different than the transmissions. It's cool. Everything is unique to the track. They'll do parts cleaning, and so we have big sonic cleaners and
that big ultrasonic.
Yeah. Stuff here, little. Well, that's what's left of the
From the
14
accident?
car from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a good. So where do the cars come in from a race?
They'll come back in the back. We'll go through a couple of these other rooms, and then we'll go through the truck bay and take you next door, kind of show you how that process is.
It is amazing how clean this shop is.
Yeah, we employ 300 plus cleaners, so all you do in racing is clean.
Clean. Look at this.
So yeah, so suspension room. There's a front and rear mechanic for each one of the teams. So they'll do all the assembly for these guys. So they'll maintain the brakes, rebuild the calipers.
Look at that.
Assemble rotors.
Huge. This is a front caliper?
Yep, front caliper, yep.
Massive.
Between Daytona, Vegas, Fontana, and then Phoenix, all complete different suspension packages for each one of those tracks. So rear end housings, spindles, brake packages, upper and lower control arms, truck arms, everything that it takes to bolt our cars together. Potentially could be different.
During a race weekend, between practice and qualifying, et cetera, will you change brake pads?
Depending on what track it is, but yeah, it's like Phoenix for sure, Martinsville for sure, road racing for sure. Yeah, you'll even, like, so road racing in, say, Martinsville and probably Richmond, you're probably putting brand new calipers on as well.
Calipers?
Yeah, a lot of times you will show up that weekend with a brand new set of calipers, whether they change them out or not before. It depends on how many laps they ran and what they feel like the brakes are like. Might change out for last practice. Wow. So yeah, there's potential to change everything is there. We have enough spare parts for everybody. It's just what is needed at the track at that time. Steering boxes. So steering boxes we'll take, and we get the casting raw, and then we'll take and we'll completely profile machine it.
Oh yeah?
Knock the weight out of it.
Okay.
So it's another one of those things that we'll buy, but we'll put a lot of time in, and then.
So this is a dumb question, but your steering wheel connects to this, and then this moves in and out?
No, this is the steering wheel on this side,
here. Okay.
and then the pitman arm is here.
Got it. So something like a pitman arm. Do you guys machine that, or you buy that?
No.
You make that?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yep. So we'll make center links. They'll start off as a big billet bar.
Yeah.
Some of them have a little bit of aerodynamic assistance to them.
Look at all the work that goes in it. I mean, that's a multi-hour part.
Yeah, nice and light too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is cool. That's awesome.
So the truck bay, the cars will get unloaded from here, and 99% of the time the car will go right to tear down. If we had an issue, if the driver was saying, hey, the alternator's not working, or the power steering is cutting off, or having some issue during the race, the car will go back into our building, and the mechanics will try to diagnose what our engineers, etc. But 99% of the time the car will go into tear down. That's the next room over.
Okay. But this is literally the car carrier.
Yeah. So this is for the. So when we go to the West Coast, the primary haulers will leave with all the Vegas stuff in it. Go straight to Vegas, go run. We will then load Fontana stuff into these two 4-car haulers, and they'll go to Vegas. Once the race is over on Monday, we'll be in the parking lot, and they'll give us their Vegas only stuff. We'll give them Fontana stuff, And then these things will come on back, and we'll do the same thing for Phoenix.
It's crazy. This is a leapfrog or
Yes,
swapping
yeah,
around
swap
and all
out.
that.
Yep.
That's
so
incredible.
these are just a little bit more wide open
Yeah.
than the normal haulers, and we'll carry spare parts.
Cars will sit up on these rails
Yep, on
here?
this platform. It'll
Yeah.
hold 3 up top and 1 down
Wow.
here at the bottom. That one's done a little bit different than,
That's cool.
than it. And we actually have one that'll hold 6 cars. So logistically, you don't have that primary hauler leapfrogging the country. And this is our R&D trailer. When we go test, when NASCAR lets us test, we have a complete separate team. So we could be at a racetrack on Monday. All we need is the driver, and if the crew chief wants to tag along, they could, or his engineers, that's fine. But literally, we only need the driver. We have engineer support. We have a guy who runs this department, that former on the road crew chief. So they have all their own equipment. So trucks,
crazy.
trailers, you name it. Completely equipped, just like our normal race haulers. So these are the wash bays that will tear the cars
okay.
apart and wash them up. So there you go. So there's one of our fine
Wait,
Busch Clash cars.
Get stripped down to that level?
So many critical measurements.
Yeah.
And with it all being welded together or attached one point or another, if you damage the bottom strong enough, it's going to mess with the roof. Once the roof has to come off, you're done. So here's the nose of the 4 car. Not much left of it.
Oh my.
So there's a carbon ductwork, not much left of it.
That's cool.
So they'll cut out any reusable components out of the roof, roof flaps. We have a bunch of NASCAR camera and data stuff that floats around in the roof.
Wow. And then this was one of the cars?
Yeah, that was the 10 car.
So wait, today is Wednesday.
Yeah,
so this car was in an accident on Sunday?
Sunday evening, yeah.
And it's already gotten down to this level.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Call me an idiot, but I'm not seeing crazy damage.
But the body was damaged.
Okay, but this is not. This seems...
No, this is going to have some minor things, here. So it tore up.
Ah, okay.
So
Got it.
once again, we'll get it on measuring, cut all the little ancillary stuff off of it that isn't chassis specific. We'll cut all of that off and then put it on the chassis plate, and we'll start measuring, and they'll
Start their work.
yeah, they just do their jobs, to be honest. Once again, we've all been doing this such a long time that at this level, you already know.
They're doing pit practice?
We got live pit practice. This
This
must be
is
Xfinity,
awesome.
Xfinity pit
Literally
practice.
NASCAR pit practice. Stay out of their way here. This is how those lug nuts are pre-attached.
Yep.
Right here.
Yep.
So I had always wondered this,
It's just glued.
but regardless, when I shove that over the studs, why doesn't that stud push that nut off?
So there's a cure time to the glue. So depending on the temperature, depending on how early you get your tires, there's different glues that we'll use, and you'll put them on literally in a timing that you know that the glue is going to strand out.
Is that what it does? It just stretches out? That's
It stretches
incredible.
out. So that the stud is bull nosed, and the first 3/4 of an inch or so doesn't have any thread.
Sure.
So it helps locate it. Each one of the wheels, you got the tape on it, but each one of the wheels will have a spoke, which the tire carrier will know. Okay, in relationship to, it's 5 lugs, so it's only a certain amount of degrees, whatever it is, 7.5 degrees maybe, of rotation that you got to actually know where the clock is on it. You have your eye going in, you're waiting for that guy, you know where the hub is oriented. Once again, with typical repeatability, just like being a kicker in a football, right? For a football team, you know where that top stud is in relationship to your hand being here, in relationship to swinging the wheel, and it'll go ka-chunk.
Just practice.
And stud, and then that guy will follow it in with a gun immediately. So they're doing final race prep. So that's the group that will pit the 98 car this year. So, and they'll be a mesh of our cup guys, some development guys, you know, it's a little bit of everything. So there you go, another chassis.
Yeah.
So we'll do pit practice. Depending on how the schedule is getting home, a lot of times they'll skip Monday or they'll do physical therapy, and then you'll be back on.
For the pit crew?
For the pit crew, yeah.
Wow.
So you guys have to be able to withstand standing around outside all day long. So we will take a lot of that equipment and bring it outside.
Oh, outdoor workouts?
Yeah.
The gym that we just took a side peek into is the new building that you guys are sharing with the Haas F1 team.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful. I mean, this whole campus is beautiful.
Yeah.
First machine shop tour I've done where we have like a 10-yard line marker on it.
Yeah, we go get the roller arm and make sure they're exact.
I like that.
So part of R&D, anything that is not normal race car wise, it gets done over here. They have all the same equipment. You see the roller arm.
It's awesome.
You see the surface plate. So the push-up rig, same thing, 2 surface plates with roller arm. So NASCAR is going to have organizational tests. You're going to have tire tests that Goodyear will go ahead and do. Anytime we can get on the track, we're going to go.
Yeah.
So to have the flexibility for a group to not be married to one team and just worry about X's and O's of changes, they can go ahead and work on stuff and it's not in front of so many people's eyes and opinions and, you know, etc. And then tear downs, so when the cars come back, so this is where the cars will come to get taken apart, and we'll prep show cars. So here's a show car getting prepped. Show car meaning this? It's an X-race car.
What is a show? Okay.
So an X-race car, and so you go to the event if Hunt Brothers Pizza is going to do a grand opening at some new location that they've got, and they want a representation of their race car. We can't send a real race car, so we're going to send a retired race car. It'll have a Ford crate motor under the hood, and it'll run and drive and go on in.
With 750 horsepower.
So this car's the 750 horsepower version. This is an exhibition car. It's a 2-seater car that went to COTA during the F1 week. And had Grosjean and Magnussen roll around in it. Yeah.
That's super cool. If you look at the relationship of the seat to your wheels, it's not like a road car. I mean, you're
buried in it.
Your heels are at your same level as your butt.
It could be. It's all based off the driver. The driver sits in this carbon shell seat, but it has a CNC insert to him.
I love it. Machine to fit him.
Machine to fit him.
I love it.
And so he can sit in any orientation as long as the seat is NASCAR approved seat and sits in the generic location that they want it. You could sit like, you know, you're in a bar lounge.
Do they put a roamer arm on his butt?
They scan them.
This is a different type of section view, folks.
Yeah, so this is once again part of the dog and pony show that goes on over the weekend. So if Busch wants a fan experience and they want to do, so we could take this. They'll do pit stop. Simulation. So give people stuff to play with, and so brand new chassis.
Look at that.
We have chassis in queue getting ready to be worked on. Obviously ones that are just getting done.
Seeing them when they're shiny like that before paint is just beautiful. Oh, look at that, a bunch of machines.
Yeah.
So this is not the machine shop.
No.
Okay.
No, correct. This is a secondary. This is a shop for the guys in this side, so they don't have to go on over next door. So chassis shop. The main cage section where the driver sits is pretty universal. It's the front and rear clip that get married to it that make it unique for the different types of tracks that it could go to. So you'll have a storage upstairs, you'll have the build process down here, and you have the marriage plate. So once again, 6 and 8, then all the different fixtures that it would take to locate a clip. And inside the cabinets will have more fixtures. Center section.
Oh, look at that.
Fixture. So once you build the door bars, be able to get it all out of the way, drops out of the way, pivots out of the way.
Look at all the build up from the machine parts just for the fixturing there. The inserts. That's cool.
So same thing, front and rear clip fixtures. So there you got a couple front clips.
So that's your engine mount there, that frame?
So the engine, they're not drilled in there. The engine, because it'll get done when it's in there. But the engine mount will go on
Okay.
here on those
Got it.
platforms. So this is where lower control arms get mounted, upper control arm gets mounted.
Yep.
So once the basic chassis is done in that room, it comes on in here and actually gets turned into a team car because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so much stuff that it takes to get the driver comfortable, where those, whatever the engineers want to make sure that they're happy with the location of certain tabs and brackets. So that chassis then gets turned into a, like say this one being a 41 car. It's the marriage of the driver, the crew chief's engineers, and then the shop-based engineering platform that we all run on. The shop-based designers and engineers, the vehicle dynamics engineers, they're the ones that design the cars, and they tell the crew chiefs, okay, here's what you're getting for a Martinsville car this year. And now the crew chiefs influence that through the years because they're the ones that have to make cars go fast, and they're the ones that understand reality versus the computer.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
And so you're a lot that goes into making sure.
But it's a collaboration.
It is all 100%.
You don't think about, it's not like engineering just hands a car to the crew chief and says go race.
No, we're a race team.
Yeah, right.
The team's side of it is all the people. You know, we get parts that are spun, we got parts that are CNC'd. So you'll have like the really fancy manifolds that'll guide.
Look at that.
Guide the oil as it comes back into the tank.
That's for the dry sump.
Yeah, dry sump system,
Okay.
yes sir.
Got it. Look at that. Oh man. Way too heavy. That'll get some
Yeah,
weight
it's a
out of
fixture though.
that. Oh, okay.
So we're gonna get used a few times.
Look at that. Cool.
So a lot goes into the oil tanks to make sure the oil doesn't aerate, you know, and then a lot goes into the oil tanks for aerodynamics, you know, because it sits under the car
So funny.
and has this surface. So you'll have a big part of the oil tank that is just hanging there to make sure that the air is going where the air is supposed to go and has no relevance to what the oil.
Yeah, right. Does NASCAR regulate things like this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100% of it has to go to NASCAR. Yeah, you have to have a design and then a final product that goes through NASCAR's approval.
Wow.
Yeah, it saves ourselves from ourselves.
Yeah.
Once again, it goes back to that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
So this is where we'll assemble rear end housing.
Okay.
We'll buy some stamping. And then Dan will, then we CNC a lot. We CNC the rings, where the inner seals go to. And then Dan will weld everything up and
That turns
have all
it
the
into.
fixturing.
They're going to a transaxle design though, or is this?
Yeah, they're going to go to a transaxle design. Yes, sir. Yeah, so this is CNC'd, the slug, spindle, brake mount, truck arm perch, obviously the gear ring, inner and outer seals. Do you have a spindle that's not installed?
Oh, look at that. Look at that. This is something you guys machine? That's cool.
There you go, brake mount.
Yeah, look at that eccentric. Is that so you can
Camber,
yeah,
toe and camber.
adjustable or?
Adjustable. Well, that is obviously
fixes
it's, then it'll have a sleeve that'll slide on there, and that'll give you your final adjustment.
Yep. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so that's truck arm.
Yeah. Yeah, the finishes are awesome on that. Chamfer. And that. Cool.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Cool.
And then the truck arms, so they'll mount to the rear end housing, attached to the suspension. 60s truck design, you know, still carry over. The truck arm, you're looking at a lot of 60s half-ton pickup trucks. This generic suspension design is based off of them.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so you go truck arm suspension. Then CR will do exhaust here, so he'll He'll do all our tailpipes, all our
Okay.
boom tubes in here.
Cool.
Do you have any stamping, transitions? Do you have any of the transition stamping? So we get some stamp. A lot of this stuff is formed and stamped, and we just have to manipulate it to get it to fit. So there you go. So we'll get. Look at that.
Oh, that's cool.
There you go.
That's really cool. Holy cow. How do they form that?
Stamping.
Stamping.
Yeah.
Two-piece stamping.
Two-piece, got it.
Yep.
Look at that.
Same, all aerodynamic.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So it connects to the exhaust
Yeah,
header?
so here's your headers will go.
Yeah. Routes through there?
Yeah, even though this will be here,
Yeah, sure. Okay.
but you can see how the
So you get 2 cylinders go into... is it-
four
Right
cylinders.
side and the left
Yeah,
side.
right, yeah.
4 cylinders per side.
Yeah.
Dual pipe. And then the frame rail runs right there.
Okay. Look at that. That's cool.
I don't know if you remember, but when the car was up on the rotisserie and there was a big section that it was masked off
Yeah.
under the car, that's where the
Goes
exhaust.
right there. Okay.
So then the machine's there, so all these guys who are obviously very experienced, heavy fabricators, running the CNC equipment is secondhand to them.
Yeah.
You know, a guy like CR or Dan, the guys in the
Yeah.
chassis shop, so they have to go ahead and manipulate one little thing instead of having to go to John in the main machine shop. So this is quality control. Pretty much anything that gets made outsourced or in-house will come on in here and get checked. So you're doing design verification, you're doing material verification, your final product verification, or cataloging as well. So if you make a spindle, the geometry, the final geometry will get cataloged in here. It'll get
okay.
a part
Got it.
number, it'll get put into our database, so then that way we can go ahead and track mileage, because everything has a mileage and a lifespan on it. You know, it doesn't make a difference if it's a bare chassis to a single component.
I didn't know what I was getting into, but it's funny to see they're literally working on a NASCAR stock car right there, and then right there is a CMM. And then a massive surface plate.
Yeah.
Now, when you say spindle, you're not talking about a machine tool spindle.
No,
you're
we're talking
about
a front spindle, part of the front suspension, where the hub, upper and lower control arms, and the steering all linked together.
coming down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see those because you guys make those right in the.
Yeah, it'll start off as a
Amazing.
big billet chunk. We do not do grinding here, so the seal surface and the two bearing surfaces are ground
touch it?
out. Yeah, go ahead. We'll do everything else.
Oh
in-house.
my God! Yeah, that's massive. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you'll have.
Oh wow! Look at all that surfacing in there. And this starts at a billet, but like my truck has one of these, but it's probably stamped.
Your cast.
Okay.
Cast in the machine.
Okay.
More than likely, if it's a production part.
Got it. And that's a laser for all the marking down there?
Yeah.
Got it. That's awesome. Wow.
And like these guys here, so they're adjusters.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
like, tools for the crew. Yeah, look at those joints. Oh my, come on. But that's just a tool for the pit crew, right?
Yeah. So this will be mounted in the car. It'll change the height of the track bar, but it stays in the car. So when the guy runs around, puts
That's
his
what he's-
wrench in,
that's what he's
he's
hooking
putting
with.
the wrench into that socket.
Look at that. This is, I wish YouTube conveyed the weight of things, because this is just like, it just seems,
So we make our own U-joints and everything.
that's incredible. When you first handed it to me, I thought it was the wrench.
No,
I was like,
no,
why
no,
would
no.
you make that out of, that
Yeah.
seems overkill, but
Yeah. When somebody is adjusting the track bar, you'll see that on TV in the pit stop. That's what is getting spun.
Cool. This is amazing. This is a testing rig called the 7-post system. It holds the chassis or the car in 7 points. 3 points mounted rigidly to the frame, and then 1 point for each tire. This blows my mind. They are able to take all the vehicle telemetry data from any racetrack that they actually race on. While they're on those tracks, they're recording huge amounts of that data, and they can put it into this 7-post system, and they can literally replay a track, how it affects the car, how it affects the suspension, the wheels, all of that information. The machine is absolutely massive. It's basically mounted on what you would think of as a huge stamping press. I believe when they built the building, they poured a special concrete foundation for this thing. It obviously wasn't running when we were sitting there, but apparently when it is running, you can hear it.
This is already an adhesive. You buy it as an adhesive?
Yeah, you buy it as a white plain material.
Sticker,
It's
yeah.
got the 3M adhesive on it.
Yep.
And
Yeah, look at that. And this is how you make
And
a...
that's how you make your graphics. But yeah, but it's just a big sheet.
Now, when you still wrap the car differently, this is just stickers that go over the wrap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Decals, and it'll give you the artwork and have the installers be able to aim it. And it'll tell you
Oh, yeah, look at that.
a whole little.
Yeah, that's recent, huh?
Yes, sir.
The whole wrap is, that's 3M sticker? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
So like that bush.
Yeah.
With all that detail. These guys design it. These
No
guys,
kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. And then the small stickers just go over that same wrap.
Yeah.
Oh,
Here's
wow.
like a car side.
Wow.
Right here.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So we'll do the entire. So there you go. So we were looking at the bush car. So
Yeah.
there's a bush car and all the pieces that it takes to do.
That's cool.
And they'll stick them on their little carts, and so
Yeah.
it'll be a car's worth of stuff, and then we'll roll on
Go
out.
out and do it.
Yeah, we have 2 full-time installers and production and design. So you're working with the sponsor, working with the teams, and working with the manufacturer. We'll produce all our own.
Sticker. Oh, the
lights,
Ford, yeah, this is the
taillights.
Ford sticker.
Yeah,
That's
all
awesome.
the ID graphics.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. So when we do a car, you're doing a primary and a backup, and then you need a spare at the racetrack just in case it scuffs the wall and they have to repair it. So there's
Got
a
it.
complete spare kit. So
Good grief.
spare kits from last year that are extras, spare kits that are coming up for these. So you got Vegas and California spares, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then we'll do repair kits. So we have a at-track fab guy who will travel to all the races, and he's in charge of, okay, if I scuff the right rear, and I just have to do a little piece, he'll request
that
small
in.
pieces and knock it out.
Cool.
The racetrack will look like a fresh print.
All right, folks, last but not least, we're here with John in the machine shop.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm really excited.
Well, thank you very much for coming in this morning. Glad to have you here visiting with us.
So, I mean, machine shop and race shop, what do you guys do?
We make roughly around 600 components and all that go on the race cars. Now, those can be anything from suspension, spindles, center links, down fire bottle brackets. It can be simple things like special washers and
Yep,
spacers.
yep.
So there's a wide variety of items that we do for our race cars.
Is most of the stuff go on the car? Do you guys make support tooling and fixturing for the shop as well?
We also do that along
Okay.
with parts with the
Okay.
car. The 600 number I gave you is just parts that go on the car.
On the
Like I
car.
said, we
That's
do
awesome.
a lot of setup equipment and tooling and everything that is in addition to that. So
Cool. Can we
big
walk
numbers.
around?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, we'll start over at some of our bigger machines here at Haas CNC.
And this is for the Cup cars, but then also for the other teams. you guys are-
Xfinity. We have 4 Cup teams, and we also support 1 Xfinity team this year, full-time Xfinity team.
Yeah.
These
Look at that.
just talking about some support equipment and everything. This is part of our pit jack.
Okay.
This is some of the basic frame and all for our pit jacks that we're making.
This is what lifts the car up at the pit
Yes,
stop? Okay.
for the pit stop. For
you
the
guys
pit
make
crew.
those jacks?
Yes. yes.
Interesting. Can I touch one?
Sure.
Look at that. I'll admit, when I hear NASCAR, I wouldn't think. I mean, this is like an aerospace part, right?
Right.
Part for that's beautiful.
And that
Holy
starts
cow.
out as a 3/4 by 6 by 24 inch piece of billet aluminum.
And
70,
the
75
weight is
aluminum.
important because they're moving that thing around.
Yes,
during,
it's our pit guys and all work out, exercise and
Yeah.
everything, but we try to make their components as light because the lighter they can move it faster.
Sure.
But
That's awesome.
okay, we'll have to change out this part, but
Okay.
we can come back and
Yeah, sure.
and film it running and all again. So give me just a second.
Why the tape foil around the gauge pin?
That is our gauge tool.
Okay.
We have set that aside, and,
Got
and
it.
all this for is to gauge the
Yeah.
rest of our tool links and everything from.
So that stops people from taking it apart.
Right,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay. I like that. It's
Like
the
that-
seal.
Yeah, exactly. We put our dimensions and everything on here.
Yeah, sure.
So
You guys
like I
use
said,
a presetter?
we did. We used a presetter for it to start with.
Yeah, got it.
But like I said, rather than having to go back and check it every time, now that's a standard tool.
Oh, I like that little fixture there.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So you got a mighty bite just to keep chatter from that tip working there?
We have to machine all the way out to the end here, and there's no way to hold this down. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we use a Mighty Bite product there just to lock that end down.
Yep. Yeah, it's a floor jack, so having a little bit of bite mark there isn't going to hurt anything.
No, we'll buff that a little bit, and it'll never be seen. All these parts get anodized after all the deburr and everything's done to it. So
That's a good little fixturing idea. Just turn a little spacer that fits with a flathead screw, and that
Yes.
locates on there. And
I'll come back after this first part's done,
yep.
tighten this down and remove that. So
Can I hit cycle start?
certainly. There you go.
I got to make a NASCAR part.
There you go. We've been using these for a couple of years. Got good testing, FEA testing and everything. Results and all was good. Hadn't had any failures, so we decided to push the envelope a little further.
You'll do an FEA on.
Oh,
on-
yes.
That's awesome. That's really
Absolutely.
cool. We weren't allowed to film this, but we were over in some of the Formula One shop, and we saw, no joke, a Cray supercomputer, a whole room dedicated to it, which I know you guys also get to use. Really cool. The VF6s are amazing. I mean, when you got the pedestals to step up into the machine, look at that, it's huge.
We just have finished up a cool product here on these machines. We do our front spindles.
Okay.
I'll show you one completed.
Yeah, sure. So these are made out of billet.
Yes. It starts out, this one has been damaged. This one took like a 200 miles an hour hit to a concrete wall, so it's bent. But it starts out life as a 450-pound block of billet steel.
Oh my
And now it ends up weighing, this weighs right at 13 pounds. We add the post and all here for the brake caliper mount.
yeah, sure,
But
sure.
everything else here, all of your tabs, everything for your brake duct mounting, everything is
surfaced
machined, yes.
Why not make this out of a weldment or a casting?
Making it out of billet gives us a blank sheet.
Okay.
If you make it out of a forging, you're in a small window
Yeah.
that you can work.
Okay.
But, we wanted to be able to develop and change the geometry some pretty drastic amounts sometimes, so we start with billet.
Just drop a new one in and hit go.
yeah.
What's the machine time on something like that?
From the billet blank
Yeah.
to a completed product, you're looking at close to 30 hours machine time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's a
But
lot.
Still, that's a lot faster than a forging or
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah.
weld up. Wow. It's incredible.
Makes a lot of chips.
Oh, so this is actually, you don't see these too often. The ones that they
The
make
TR
with the integrated.
with trunnion built
Yeah.
in, yes.
I just saw, are you guys going to get one of the new VRs that have the 5-axis, the head machine?
The
just
F1
released
has
them
them.
like,
yeah, we don't have any of them yet. Probably will be getting them in the future, but not right now.
Is that a fixture or?
This is a fixture
Okay.
plate that spindle,
Oh, that spindle works
actually fits down in
That's
here.
cool.
We tighten the spindle nut on the bottom through the trunnion, and we have an anti-rotation pin in it to keep that spindle from moving
Clocks
while
it?
it's being machined, to clock
That's
it.
cool. That's
And
awesome.
it does a great job.
Cool.
Allows us full access, 360 degrees around the spindle,
Yep.
to do all of our surfacing, finish machining, we're spoiled by having the trunnions. It
Yeah.
allows us so much flexibility, being able to machine so many features on the part in one operation, one setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to refixture to a
Yep.
second operation, whatever. We can pretty much bring the parts off completed in one op.
Yeah, we got our first UMC in March,
Yes.
and I'll tell you, I didn't think I deserved 5-axis. I thought that was for other people, and I'll never go back. If I had to sell all my machines, that's the one I'd keep. Seriously,
It'll
never
spoil
again.
you.
Yeah,
It'll spoil
it's
you.
amazing.
This is a spring helix. Again, this is one of our trunnion jobs. This sits down in the lower control arm,
Okay.
and then the coil spring
Oh,
will sit on top of it
interesting.
when the top side is finished.
I like the Renishaw probe on the riser,
Oh, yeah.
so you can still get to it.
Yes. This is one of the newer machines. It's the VF2 SSYT. It's got the extended Y travel. Does a great job with it, especially, like I said, set up with the trunnion.
Wait, is this a Tony Stewart mill?
Yes.
Come on.
We got these machines in. This one came in about 7-8 years ago, and someone in marketing said, well, let's just wrap it like Tony's race car. So that's where this was when Home Depot was the
Okay.
sponsor of the 14.
That's
So
funny.
wrapped it with
But
the same
customers
wrap.
didn't get any of these. This is just for you guys?
There was a few of these went out that
Oh,
were
really?
sold to customers.
Oh,
Yes.
that's funny.
It was a very few. There wasn't but just 3 or 4 of them,
Yeah,
maybe.
hilarious. Oh, a little VM2. I'm
Yep.
partial. I got a VM3.
Right.
Love these machines.
We have these are sister machines here. We got both of these in
Yep.
at the same time. Had trunnions on both of them. Do a very good job. I like the tables on the VM a
Yeah.
lot. The way the grid and all is laid out, they're basically set up as a mold machine, but rather than just having your standard T-bolt slots, whatever, it gives you a lot more flexibility. We use them a lot. The 2s are my favorite machine from Haas. You still got a pretty good sized work envelope that you can use, but the machine takes up a relatively small
Yeah.
footprint,
Yeah.
so you can put more of them in the shop.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. Loving this. Oh, that's beautiful.
Hood pins.
Huh. Beautiful threads.
Due to the footprint here, we use a lot of spindle liners,
Yeah.
and then we use bar pullers rather than
Yeah,
a
sure,
bar
sure,
feeder.
yeah.
You know. The little turnbuckle. We make several different lengths. These are to space the radiator pan down.
Oh, man.
So, like I said, they require
Look at that. Oh,
60,
God.
6061 aluminum.
Yeah.
Right hand thread on one end, left hand thread on the other.
Wow, that tap really goes in there.
And out comes the completed
There you go.
part.
That's awesome.
Still have to come back and finish the other end, but
Yep. When you have a maintenance need, do you call the HFO like a regular customer?
absolutely.
Is that right?
Yeah. They do a great job for us. Our company is Phillips Corp out of Kernersville here,
Okay.
close by. They're
Yeah.
an hour and a half away. You know, over the years, we have used Haas machines, of course, and all, and we've learned certain things. I mean, there's some minor stuff and all we can repair and,
Yeah,
and do
sure.
maintenance ourselves, but
Sure.
you know, we still rely heavily on our HFO.
It's not like you have a factory guy who lives here. and
No.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome.
This is a power steering pump.
Okay.
Okay, we talked about earlier possibility of using some forging castings.
Yeah.
This is one opportunity where we do take advantage of a casting.
Okay.
We purchase these, then we do a few finish operations
Yep.
to it here ourselves to customize it
Sure.
to ports and everything that we use. So, like I said, we do use castings and forgings from time to time. But we will actually go in here and change this port design here and all to accept a Wiggins fitting.
Do you take the table off this machine?
We can, but
Okay. Well, no, but it doesn't have a standard. It's got that low pro table, I think.
right, when we got it in, it was specially for the trunnion. so-
Yeah. Yeah, we used to have a trunnion on one of ours, and if you have a regular table, you end up losing a lot of Z height,
Yeah,
which
you
affects
do.
you at B90 or A90.
Yes.
So that's slick. I like that. You guys got to get a UMC in here.
We've got to. We'll probably replace the machines later on this year before we get into 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
And I suspect we'll go into UMCs, 750s, maybe even a 1000
Yeah.
at that time.
It's funny, folks, because I mean, as cool as it is, it's also just a machine shop. It's you know, it's state of the art and it's amazing, but it's, you know, the same stuff you see in a lot of places, which is kind of surreal. I guess you go into these things thinking that it's going to be different because of the level that they're making parts at and competing at, but it's a machine shop. Pretty cool. Cool. Hey, thanks for showing us around.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you. Thank you very much, John.
Folks, awesome day. I mean, it's really cool to see how much science and engineering goes into everything that these guys build. So a special thanks for them to accommodating me on short notice. Otherwise, folks, hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. Take care. See you soon.